gang violence and other kind of violence.
Get away! I could be at work, at school, in my car, and I can still get shot by the police. But I can get shot anywhere.
So it is what it is.
What's good, shout around? It's the Black Gen Z Mindset. Make sure you go ahead and like, comment, share, subscribe. Let's get into the video.
Deputies confirmed they found a prominent Baton Rouge therapist wrapped in a tarp, dead Sunday morning.
Chris Joseph is live in Hammond with details.
Yeah, when a passerby found it, of course, they alerted authorities, and when deputies came upon the scene, they found Abraham in the ditch, seemingly uncovered from the road.
Wow. So you have a therapist who was found brutally murdered in a tarp on the side of the road. I mean, this is just, it's a horrible thing. And there's a lot of rumors circulating on social media about this therapist. I haven't seen any reports validating them. But this is a very serious situation because this guy was a person who touched many lives. And now we're about to see how his life and his family's life will be affected forever.
There's very little on Highway 51 near Fluker, but this largely desolate area is now part of a homicide investigation. After being alerted by a passerby, Tangipahoa Parish deputies found William Nicholas Abraham dead Sunday morning in a ditch, wrapped in a tarp.
Obviously, it was a very physical and violent death.
Sheriff Gerald Sticker says Abraham suffered blunt force trauma to the head and neck. He says investigators believe he was killed elsewhere, then dumped overnight. Sticker says the office is not aware of any connection Abraham may have to the area at this point.
Society that we live in, there's an element of violence. There are evil people in this world.
Abraham's website described him as a former Catholic priest, a motivational speaker, an author, and a host. His attorney says he had a giving soul.
So obviously this man was a pillar in his community, and now we're seeing that things are taking a turn for the worse, and bad things are happening to good people, and it's because crime is just so high right now, and the dangers of just being an American citizen have increased substantially.
I'm absolutely devastated and completely surprised that something like that could have happened to a man who I believe to be so tender, so gentle, and have such a service heart.
Sticker says investigators are still looking for suspects. So the sheriff says, of course, this investigation is still in the early stages, but asks anyone at home, if you know anything about what may have happened, reach out. Obviously, that would help move the investigation forward. Reporting in Tangipahoa Parish, Chris Joseph, Fox 8 Local First.
Okay, thanks so much, Chris. We're learning more about the 69-year-old therapist found dead in Tangipahoa Parish on Sunday. Court records show William Nicholas Abraham was accused of molesting an 11-year-old boy in 2015, but he was never charged with the crime. Amelia Strahan digs deeper into that arrest.
Wow. So they're saying that this man allegedly molested a child, but he was never found guilty of that. So can you really say, because you got a lot of people online justifying him being murdered, and I mean, we don't know what happened. All of this is alleged, and he was never convicted of the crime.
For 2 years, East Baton Rouge District Attorney's Office says they've reviewed the case. A prominent therapist from Baton Rouge accused of inappropriately touching an 11-year-old boy during a therapy session in 2015.
Any child sex abuse allegation needs to be investigated very, very carefully.
Fast forward almost 10 years, the therapist and ex-priest William Nicholas Abraham was found dead, his body wrapped in a tarp and dumped along Highway 51 in Tangipahoa Parish.
A lot of physical damage done to the victim, and so it was it was a physical attack. At the very least, he was bludgeoned.
On Tuesday, we pressed the district attorney's office, asking whatever came of Abraham's 2015 arrest. The DA declined an interview, but his office sent us this statement. Assistant District Attorney Tracy Barbara said, quote, "After reviewing all available evidence, the best interest of the child, and the lack of any inculpatory statements by the arrestee, we declined to institute formal charges." Craig Murdoch is an attorney not involved in the case, but says the decision not to try it probably came down to a lack of evidence.
In this case, after 2 years of reviewing, they decided that they did not believe they could get a conviction beyond a reasonable doubt.
And I think that is, I think that's substantial because they investigated this man for 2 years and found nothing. Clearly, there would be some DNA evidence that would suggest that he did this. Now, if he did do it, it's horrible, but it's also not a death sentence where someone should take it upon their own. Now, what I believe should happen to them, if it's true, you know, then I'm not going to lose sleep over it. But if the man was not found guilty and they investigated him and it could have genuinely been a false accusation, then for someone to try and justify his murder by saying, oh, well, he was arrested for this charge, but he was never found guilty, then, you know, I just think it's unfair.
Against Mr. Abraham. They did not believe they would get a conviction if presenting the entire case to the jury.
Now the sheriff's office is asking for help identifying a man who could be tied to the murder. Officers say the man in these photos was the last person to drive Abraham's car. They say he sped through a traffic stop, crashed the vehicle, then ran away. The sheriff's office says they're still working to determine a motive, but they're...
And apparently this guy is some TikTok famous individual. And people are trying to put the pieces together. And, you know, I don't know. We're going to have to see.
Our focus is finding out where Abraham was murdered. Amelia Strahan, WWL, Louisiana.
If you have any information about the man who was last seen driving Abraham's vehicle, you're asked to call Crime Stoppers of Tangipahoa. You can remain anonymous.
What's good, Shadow Realm? It's your boy Jenquavius Jackson, and y'all already know I'm demonetized and shadow banned in this bitch. So if you want to contribute, go to the Cash App, the PayPal, the GoFundMe, or join the Patreon. Also, don't forget to visit the merch store for all your favorite BGZM News 17 gear, including our exclusive Trump is a Blood t-shirt. Go fast before they sell out. They are already flying off the shelves, no cap. And remember, these super gremlins are on demon time.
Now, Baton Rouge police identifying a suspect in the case of the man found dead in a tarp in Tangipahoa Parish. Right now, Terryon Ishmael Thomas is wanted for criminal damage to property, resisting an officer, and unauthorized use of a vehicle. Baton Rouge police say he's a suspect in the killing of well-known Baton Rouge therapist William Nick Abraham. Officers say he was seen driving Abraham's stolen car. Chris Welty reports.
So he was seen driving the stolen car. He killed this man. It was absolutely ridiculous, the way in which it was done. I mean, how could you be so stupid to do something like this? I don't even think that he was connected to the previous case where he was being investigated for the sexual assault on a child, molestation. I don't think he had any connection to that case. I could be wrong, but it doesn't seem like it. It just seems like, oh, he just jacked his car, went on a joyride, and boom, it's like that. These super gremlins are on demon time. And apparently this guy is TikTok famous, so it's like, dude, how are you not monetizing your TikTok? I mean, it is pretty difficult to monetize, especially if you don't have the support of TikTok, but I believe this guy's a homosexual, so he most likely had the support of TikTok.
The death of 69-year-old William Abraham, better known as Nicky, is slowly sinking in for friends and loved ones.
I think we all take turns wailing, just the outbursts on the floor, on your knees. How can this happen?
Longtime friend and former Baton Rouge journalist Whitney Van says Abraham's death is sobering. Over the weekend, deputies say Abraham's body was found wrapped in a tarp and dumped in a Tangipahoa Parish ditch. According to the coroner, he was killed by blunt force trauma to the head and neck.
It was a very physical and violent death.
The savageness, the brutality, the inhumanity of whoever did this to him is just wretched, because you think about their last minutes, right? Terrified, fearful.
Abraham was once a priest, but also a musician and author. He was also a regular on a Baton Rouge newscast as Dr. Nick. Van says viewers fell in love with the doctor who was made for TV.
You know, somebody's magical when you immediately say, I want to have him back. And we started having him on once a month for a mental health segment. He just has this magnetism and charisma and light to the world that everyone gravitated toward.
One of Van's.
So you hear people singing his praises. I just I don't believe what the internet's saying. I really don't. To me, it seems like it's cap. But you know, I'm open for any evidence, real evidence, but the investigation turned out to be nothing, where they didn't feel like they could get him on any charges because there's no evidence. And isn't that what innocent until proven guilty means?
Fondest memories is when she and Abraham rode in a Spanish Town parade.
And to this day, we both always said, yep, that was it. Can't top it. Can't top it. It was great. He was always just fun and lively and a community servant.
Van says amid the pain, one thing is bringing her comfort.
I do think he's in heaven. I think he's up there and we'll meet. And he loved his mom and daddy so much and he loved Jesus. So we're holding to that.
Once again, here's a look at Terryon Thomas. The Tangipahoa Parish Sheriff's Office released this photo and say he is the last person known to drive Abraham's car. The East Baton Rouge Parish Sheriff's Office and Baton Rouge Police are assisting. If you have any information, call Crime Stoppers or the Sheriff's Office.
Wanted in the murder of a Baton Rouge therapist is in the East Baton Rouge Parish Prison tonight. Terryon Thomas, also known as Mr. Prada, was arrested in Dallas, brought back here to face the charges against him. Dion Guillory has a look at that. Hey, Dion.
Good evening, Greg. Terryon Thomas was in handcuffs as he was quickly escorted into the parish prison by two members of law enforcement. This as the man he's accused of killing was laid to rest. A TikTok personality seen in a different type of video. Terryon Thomas, known as Mr. Prada, being escorted inside the East Baton Rouge Parish Prison. He is charged in the bloody murder of Dr. Nick Abraham. Thomas was arrested in Dallas last week and flown back to Baton Rouge this afternoon. Cardero Cloy was on that flight.
We boarded the plane, and then later on some people were in the back of the plane, and they made them move to other seats to bring the inmate on. And they sat at the back of the plane.
Detectives say Dr. Abraham was stabbed inside Thomas's apartment, with witnesses telling them they saw Thomas dragging what was believed to be the doctor's body. Abraham was found the next day wrapped in tarp and left alongside a highway in Tangipahoa Parish. He was laid to rest today in his hometown of Clarksdale, Mississippi. While that was happening, his suspected killer was being flown back to Baton Rouge.
When we got off the plane, I'm assuming they waited and let everybody get off, and then they let the inmate, the guy get off the plane.
The nature of Thomas and Abraham's relationship is still unknown tonight. What is known is Thomas will spend the night in the parish prison awaiting his next court appearance. And Thomas could make his first court appearance as early as tomorrow morning. Greg.
All right, Dion, thank you. Appreciate
it. All right, guys, so we've got the video of him in booking, it appears. This guy obviously has some issues, crashed out on this man, this former priest. A lot of people are trying to, say that this priest might have done something to this young man, We have no evidence of that. He hasn't come out and said anything like that. It's pretty much just the internet saying that and using the fact that he was investigated for molestation years ago, and was, you know, they didn't even end up pressing any charges on him. But I'm sure that took a hit on his mental health and his career. You know, it's a shame. And even if he did do it, like I said, it doesn't justify street justice or, you know, let the law look into it, investigate it, and if there's no evidence.
Gang violence and other kind of violence.
Guess what? I could be at work, at school, in my car, and I can still get shot by the police. I can get shot anywhere.
So it is what it is.